The third thing is I have little doubt now that this deal will not go through. I'm confident that this is going to happen now. I'm pretty convinced, even though I don't like it, still don't like it. But I have to put this question out there. What's the benefit to consumers? The only thing I've heard, and I don't find these very strong arguments, is that more platforms, I put that in quotes for those audio listeners, and Game Pass, aka free Call of Duty. Regarding the more platforms thing, I've talked about this before, but there's nothing stopping them from doing that now, is there? So that's not really a big selling point. And the Game Pass thing, like, that's all anyone said. Look at any thread regarding this deal. Everyone is talking about, oh, I can't wait to play this on Game Pass. Call of Duty's coming to Game Pass. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. Game Pass. Like, dude, I get it. You want Call of Duty on Game Pass. I get it. Like, is that the only benefit we have as gamers, is to have Call of Duty on Game Pass? Is that it? That all we care about? Does that outweigh all the possible negative ramifications of this deal? I don't think so, but apparently everyone else does. I think that's wild. And the other thing, regarding more platforms, has anyone thought about how does that affect development? Because if Activision isn't doing it now, for whatever reason, still don't know what that reason is, now they have to build for all of the Xbox ecosystem, PlayStation, PC, Nvidia, Nintendo Switch. How is that going to affect development? There's already 5 to 7 teams, I think, in the Call of Duty, the COG machine now. Are they going to need more studios? How does that work? Anyone thought about that? Or is it just going to be nice, easy ports? I don't know. Also, are we still going to be singing the praises when there's inevitable layoffs that happen with this? That's a potential side effect of this deal. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to see some layoffs happen with this deal. It's just anytime there's some big merger and acquisition, people are going to lose their jobs. You get redundancies when you tend to absorb these absorb companies together. You don't need those redundancies. You got to trim the fat. We still going to be singing the praises of this deal when that happens because everyone's so sensitive with all the layoffs and all that stuff. Still going to be singing that praise? Maybe. Now, it was recently brought to my attention about this idea, and I can't take credit for it. So I think that it originally came from one of the writers over at gamesindustry.biz, which, by the way, is a fantastic website. I need to leverage more. It's got really cool stuff. But he put this idea out there that Xbox, if this deal goes through, that Xbox could potentially basically use all of Activision's people and replace the Xbox division with those people. Now, again, it's just a thought experiment. Not saying it's going to happen, but think about that for a second. You have an entire company being absorbed with Activision that makes games consistently. They make high quality games, and they make games better than you. Better than you being Xbox. So why would they keep the Xbox people around that really haven't been delivering at that level? Just an interesting kind of, I think it's a really interesting point. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think it's interesting, and it kind of plays into this whole idea that, yeah, layoffs are going to happen. People are going to lose their jobs. And that's an unfortunate reality of mergers and acquisitions. The last thing I want to say, and this is kind of just a personal note, a personal gripe I guess I have, is that I really cannot stand the way that Xbox has played the victim this entire process. I can't stand the victim mentality. I don't understand why victimhood is so praised as this virtue within our culture today. It's being a victim is not a virtue. And I just don't understand that. And I can't stand that they've just downplayed everything and even come up with like questionable statistics and stats and data points to really paint them as just this poor big company that just can't compete with the big old PlayStation. It's such garbage. Look, I get the tactic, but it's very disingenuous. But I mean, that's how these companies operate, right? You can't believe everything that they say. I mean, they even stated, we didn't even talk about this last week, but they stated that PlayStation can make Call of Duty in 10 years. So once all these 10-year deals are over, PlayStation has enough time to start making a Call of Duty competitor. Really? Really? When the likes of EA couldn't do it all this time, how many other first-person shooters have come and gone throughout Call of Duty's 20-plus year of dominance? How many? And you think PlayStation can just magically make a game to compete with Call of Duty? I have no doubt that PlayStation could make a great first-person shooter, but is it going to rival Call of Duty's popularity? No, I don't think anyone's touching that. It's so established that this is completely insane. Can you imagine the amount of resources and time it would take to do that? And you know what? I think the only game that's really rivaled Call of Duty was Halo. And what company actually has resources that could dump into something like that to actually make a competitor to Call of Duty? Xbox. But instead, they just want to buy it because why make something when you can just buy it, right? So I guess that's the only thing Xbox can do these days is just reach into those deep pockets and buy something. So maybe there's a little truth to their downplay because they're not that great, I guess. like think about this. Xbox has spent how much money on all their acquisitions when the spree kind of started around 2018, bought in all these studios, all these IPs, including Bethesda. And if not for Bethesda, which they bought, I think it was 2021, so now 2 years ago, what would they have? What would they have to show for that since 2018? That's wild to me. And now think about this year without Bethesda, no Hi-Fi Rush, no Starfield, no Redfall. Their biggest games are all coming from Bethesda. They have nothing else to show for that. Now, maybe the showcase will show us some really neat stuff. Maybe we'll get an update on all these games they've shown us for the last 4 years ago. But I think that says something. And now they want more. They want to buy more because they still, despite all these efforts, all the money that they've spent, they still can't penetrate the market. All the while, both PlayStation and Nintendo have built something over time, and they've built something with high quality games. They've created things and created a platform that drives players to their ecosystems. So cheer all you want for Xbox and their deep pockets and getting Call of Duty on the Game Pass, because I guess that's all, unfortunately, they have until proven otherwise.
Thanks for tuning in to this clip from the Gamecite Chronicles podcast. You can tune in new episodes every week, Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And until next time, I'm Bonfire, and I will see you online.